Hey guys, the last couple days we spent on a packet trying to learn kind of about these things called square root functions or radical functions. You've kind of seen the shape of them. Hopefully you've kind of tried to compare them to some of the things we've done, like quadratic functions, maybe like exponentials, like linears, like how have they compared, how have they contrasted. You notice they've been a square, they've had square roots in them, and they are a curved graph, not a linear graph, not a straight line. Here's the parent function as you've seen, y equals the square root of x. If I'm making a table, as we'll start to do some hand graphs of them today, and you'll still do some on Desmos, but there's a few that I want you to now start hand graphing. When you're hand graphing, you're going to start off just the way we've always done when we start to graph something for the first time. We make some tables, and especially since we have square roots, we're going to try to be smart about how the numbers we're picking out, okay? 0 is still always a good one to start with, but again, pick out other numbers like perfect squares, numbers you can square root. So popular numbers are 0, 1, 4, and 9 typically. And if you go up to 4 points, that's usually going to be a good start in terms of just making a graph. A lot of times that'll be good enough for me. You can make some more if you want to make a better shape. And just to get a better feel for what it's going to look like, but usually that's a good start. There's 0, 1, 4, 9. Those will be common ones you'll plug in, or as you get to some of the later ones in this assignment, in this section, again, you'll be kind of smart about the numbers you'll pick out. I'll talk about it here in just a little bit, okay? But for this one, if I plug in 0, 1, 4, 9 into the parent function, I get 0. Well, square root of 0, 0. Square root of 1 is 1. Square root of 4 is 2. And square root of 9 is 3, right? So if I'm plotting the parent function, 0, 0, 1, 1, 4, 2, and 9, 3. And maybe you started to notice, here's what the square root functions start to look like. Arrow on the end because it goes on forever. But notice it has like a starting point, and then it doesn't, it almost looks like a quadratic. And it does have a lot of ties to quadratic, except for the fact that I'm going to do in blue here a quadratic would U-shape and come back. But as you're noticing with the square root function, well, it doesn't. And again, part of the reason because of that is when you square root, okay, this square root up here isn't saying like the positive and negative square root of it. When we take a square root and we use the square root sign, it's actually called the primary square root. It's just the positives it's dealing with. So I don't get any negative numbers unless there is actually, as you've seen for some of the problems, a negative in front of this. Like if it's negative square root of x, then it would be the graph that goes below the y-axis, okay? But when you just see a square root symbol, then it's just talking about the primary square root when you get a positive in front of it, or from that, and not necessarily the negative, okay? There's what the parent function looks like. In the last couple of days, you've playing around with again, if I give you some functions like over here, can you identify which type they would be? I'll lay out a general form on the next slide, but hopefully you've noticed, okay, when I have a number in front here, and again, this will almost, just like with a quadratic, this will be actually our a, our number that's multiplied to the square root of x, or plane that's multiplied to what makes it a radical function. Just how, like we had y equals ax squared, right? And this made it a quadratic. It's the leading coefficient. Well, same kind of thing here. This a, when a is, and I should actually use an inequality there, and we'll kind of, again, show it on the next page. When a is greater than 1, this is when we had a stretch for a graph. And I'm not going to do the whole graph right now. You could plug in a table of values, but I'm just going to make a quick one as in general. Well, it's going to be something that stretches vertically above the parent function, right? It stretches vertically higher, okay? If I've got an a, as it has here, a is less than 1. And I know I'll deal with the negative sign in a second as well. Again, we're talking about a, and really I can clarify. Let's do this instead. When a is between 0 and 1. Okay, is more specific. And I'm not even talking about the negative. I could even put that in absolute value just to kind of give us the idea. I'm just talking about the 1/3 in this case, okay? And I can even erase just the fact about the negative and just say, when I'm just looking at the value, the absolute value of this number, it's 1/3. That's going to make a shrink because it's a number less than 1. The fact that it's negative is going to make a reflection. And the next slide is going to sum this up as well, too. So you can jot some of this down right now on this slide, but also know that I'll be referring to it on the next slide as well, okay? A shrink, Okay, means that if it was just a shrink, it means it's something that would be underneath the parent, right? It wouldn't be rising quite as quickly. It would still be rising, but not as fast. And a reflection, just kind of showing what those do. A reflection is when it reflects over the x-axis when I see a negative outside the square root like this. Okay. Something we've noticed, there are two different types of translations. We can move left or right. Okay. So when I see something underneath the square root, maybe what you've noticed so far is in this case, this transformation would be actually left 4. Okay. And the reason that happens is because think about under a square root, I can't get a negative, but what is the lowest value of x I could plug in and still be able to square root what I have under here? And in this case, it's -4. So the first point that you figure out you could use is -4, 0. When you're making a table for one like this, -4 might be the first value you pick because that'll make 0 under the square root. The square root of 0 would be 0. And then maybe you'd pick -3. Because -3 plus 4 would be 1. The square root of 1 would be 1. So again, when you're making a table for certain ones of these, there won't be too many tonight, but there'll be a couple you have to hand graph. If you have a situation where you have something under the square root, added or subtracted, think wisely about the numbers you're going to pick to make numbers that you could take the square root of. Okay. This one is going to go left 4 from the parent function. So it's going to go, it starts at the origin, the parent function does. Well, I'd go left 4 from that. And then if there's no stretch or shrink or transformation from there, then it'll just be like the parent function where it's up 1 over 1, up 2 over 4, up 3 over 9, and it'll start to look just like the parent, but just shifted to the left 4. Okay. And that last one, I guess I'll do this one in yellow as well. If you see something added or subtracted outside of the square root, well, then that's like an up or down movement. So in this case, and it's just almost like a y-intercept, this would be up 3 from the parent function. So this one I can still plug in normal numbers from my table, but what I'll notice on the graph is it'll be up 3. That's where this first point will start, not 0, 0, but in this case it'd be 0, 3. And then this one would look like the parent function. So again, just making a rough graph of it. But there's what that looked like. Hopefully, these first 2 days you've started to kind of put some of these things together. What these numbers inside the square root or inside the equation are starting to tell you. Okay, the second slide might be pretty helpful for some people. Maybe you'll like this better even than all the stuff we were talking about on the last page. Here's the general form for a radical function, okay, or in this case a square root function. And just like how with a quadratic we had y equals ax squared plus bx plus c, right? And certain things, A told us certain things about the graph, and C did as well. Even B did to a point as well. We have different variables that'll tell us in a square root function what will happen with the graph, okay? A, again, kind of the leading coefficient. It gives us down here, it talks about whether it'll be a stretch or shrink. Again, whether it's greater than 1 or between 0 and 1, and also tells if it's, again, a reflection we talked about in the previous page. If it ends up being a negative value, that'll make a reflection, and it's over the x-axis, okay? K, the constant that's outside the square root, this one here, indicates a vertical shift. And as I put there, it's just as it looks. So if it says +3 like we had on the previous page, then it's up 3. Or if it says -4, then it's down 4. So K is just as it looks with the sign. Again, we're used to seeing that from the past. Sometimes K actually can appear in front of A as well. Like just for example, you could have something like 2 plus 3 square root of x, okay? So K can appear in front of our square root as well. That's totally okay. It's just the constant that's outside the square root. That'll act like our shift up or down, okay? And lastly, though, our H, okay? H as it appears in here, and again, we saw this in the vertex form of a quadratic, and we've seen it even in point slope form, right? It says x minus h. Notice that's the way this formula wants to be. So underneath the square root, it indicates a shift left or right, but it kind of tries to fool us, as I say. So if you see something like in this first problem down here, x plus 2, what that actually means is it's going left compared to the parent. This is going to be left 2 spots, okay? Let me continue with this one, again, kind of doing the transformations. It also says +9 here, so I would say this one will also be up 9 if they want you to put all the transformations. And then this, the number in front of the square root, or multiplied to the square root, tells me since it's bigger than 1, this will be a stretch. And I'm just going to say a stretch times 5. So it'll be 5 times, all the points would be 5 times increased what they would be from the parent function. Okay, almost like multiplying them by 5. Okay. If I was going to list all the transformations, I make 3 bullet points because it looks like I have 3 different things going on compared to the parent in this one, and those are the bullet points I'd want you to list tonight. Okay, let's look at that next one. Do another one here together. I'm going to start off with, usually I start off with A, and I will this time. It says 0.5, which means it's going to be a shrink. It's going to be a shrink like divided by 2, right? It'll be half as vertically stretched as the parent is. It's going to be shrunken down. Half the values be the values of the y values would be like half of the size they usually would, half as close as they would be to the x-axis. Okay, it'll be down 4. As I look at that minus 4, it'll be a shift down 4. And x minus 2 means, remember that it'll actually move to the right 2 spots. Is where that first point that we plot, like in the parent function, how there's a starting point, you know, like how it's 0, 0, 1, 1, 4, 2, 9, 3, and there's the parent function. Well, again, if I'm going to make a graph of this one, the first place that I would start by looking at these transformations here, well, I should expect that it should go down, right 2 and down 4 from the parent. And that's where that first point will be, right 2 and down 4. So it should start here. And then I could even use the fact that it's a shrink of a half to know it's going to be half as big, so all the points will be half as tall as they were. So this one will be a half. Okay, and this one will be at 1. And this one will be at 9. 3 would be at not over 9, but up a half, or 1.5. Okay, so it'll be a little flatter than would the parent function. Okay. And that last one, if I'm listing all the transformations for that one, okay, look at that fraction in front. First of all, what I would say about that one is it's a reflection, so it's going to again, kind of loop down and to the right instead. Reflection for this one. This, don't be fooled, 5 over 3 is a number greater than 1, so this is a stretch, okay? And a stretch, and I could say times that fraction, or times, I guess it'd be like 1.6 repeating, but if it's a nice one, I like when you put it like half or times 5, like I did here. It's okay if you don't list it for this one. You could say times 5 over 3. So just kind of give you an idea of the factor, how much it's increasing. That is okay with me too. Let's see, it's going to be down 10, since it says minus 10 here in the back. Okay, and so that's like, again, the shift from where the parent is. It's going to go down 10, and then x plus 7, again, kind of backwards from what it looks. It's actually moved left 7 along the x-axis. Okay. There's a little help for the graphs. I'm going to make one more video too, a short one that talks about the domain and range, since I haven't talked about that yet, but I'll do that on another video.